Hello students, today we'll study first chapter of grade 10 from the book The First Flight. The title of the chapter is A Letter to God, which is authored by L.Fuentes. Full name of L.Fuentes was Gregorio Lopez Fuentes. He was born in 1895 and died in 1966, almost at the age of 71. He was from Mexico and his occupation was to write novels, poetry, and he was a journalist also. So this is about the author of this chapter. Now let's move to the next part, that is the introduction of the chapter, brief introduction of the chapter. So the story A Letter to God, which is authored by L.Fuentes, centers on the idea of having unflinching faith in something. Unflinching faith means unshakable faith, very deeply rooted faith which cannot be broken and shaken. The story is set in a Latin American country, that is Mexico. So the story's background is in Mexican Valley. Lencho, the farmer who is the protagonist of the story, central character, protagonist, central character. And he writes a letter to God seeking monetary help from the Almighty after having his entire corn crop destroyed by a torrential rain. Torrential rain means very heavy rain along with the winds. So although his wishes get fulfilled partially only, if not completely, he is ungrateful in the end and questions the honesty and modesty of post office employees who actually helped him with money anonymously in the name of God. Yes, post office people sent him the money he needed, but they did not disclose their identity because their main purpose was to protect his faith in God. So this is introduction. Now we'll see the characters involved in this story. So we find that the very first one is Lencho himself, who is the protagonist and the hero of the story. Then we have his wife and children as other characters. Then we have post office employees. And finally, I have picked up God also as a supernatural element. By the way, we don't find any evidence where God directly intervenes in the life of the people. But yes, there comes a moment when the main character, the protagonist of the story, Mr. Lencho, who turns to God to seek help. So for that purpose, I mentioned God also as a referral character, means a reference is there. He doesn't intervene the process directly. Now we'll talk something about the storyline. So just to understand the chapter with ease, I have divided the whole lesson into 4 parts. There can be more parts also as per the convenience that differs from person to person, but I have divided into just 4 parts. The first one will discuss about location of the house. Then we'll talk about Lencho seeks for rain. Third episode will be the destructive hailstorm, and the last one is Lencho writes letter to God and the post office employees extend anonymous help to Lencho. So these 4 episodes we'll discuss now in detail. We can see the picture itself. It speaks volume about the location of the house. And the house, as it is shown in the picture as well as it is mentioned in the book itself, it is the isolated house. The house is at the crest of a small hill. Crest means the top of the hill, and there is no any other house around it. It is the isolated one, just all alone. And it being located at the top of the hill gives a very mesmerizing and sweeping sight of the surroundings. We can see the river passing through the valley, and we can see other hills, then trees, plants, greenery, and the crop of the protagonist, that is Lencho. And we can see that children also are working over there. They are lending their active hand in the farming process. The elder children are working in the farm and the younger ones are playing over there just near the house outside there. And he is having a corn crop. The crop is promising actually. Promising means it is very clear. If you look at the crop, you can easily guess that this time the produce is going to be very good, but it needs rain. If there is a downpour, means very heavy rain, it will be icing on the cake. Otherwise, at least little shower is required. That we can see the corn, maize, which we generally enjoy in a winter season. So this is the location of the house. It's a beautiful location. In completely, the house is located in the lap of nature itself. Now, if we move to the next episode, that is Lencho seeks for rain. As we know that the crop is in need of a rain and Lencho is expecting it. That day he found some signs in the sky that rain could be there. So since morning he's standing and looking towards the sky in the northeast side, because monsoon would come from northeast side only. So since morning he is looking towards the sky, and by evening he got a sense, yes, chances are becoming better and better for raining that day. Now the rain happens, but how it happens? Next is destructive hailstorm. It is evening, from morning till evening, continuously Lencho is standing in the farm looking towards the northeast side of the sky and waiting for rain to happen. He calculated the weather conditions and found that rain was almost sure to happen. But meanwhile, it was evening time and his wife started preparing supper for them, dinner for them. As I told that children were out into the farm, as well as some of them they were playing also. He was having many children. So suddenly they heard the call from their mother and they ran into house. She called everybody for dinner. They went inside and then hardly had they been inside, they heard the pitter patter of the rain outside. And Lencho came out, was very happy seeing that it was raining there. Rain started, and out of happiness, he was very happy, elated. And he said that the raindrops were not the raindrops, by the way, they were the coins. He compares them with new coins, but suddenly that happiness changes into a big sorrow. Something went just opposite to his desire. What was that? The rain lost ground to the destructive hailstorm. Suddenly it started raining hailstones, the frozen balls of ice. So the crop, which was very promising, which he was supposing that would give him a very good produce, was completely destroyed by the hailstorm. And two factors were responsible. First was torrential rain. The rain happened, but it was so heavy rain with such a fast blowing winds, strongly blowing winds. And then along with that rain also came the hailstones. In this episode, we need to understand the comparative part, because he uses language in a very metaphorical way. That metaphor is, he compares the raindrops to new coins. Mind it. He compares raindrops to new coins. He says that these are not the raindrops, these are the new coins. Why? Because due to the rain, he was going to have a very good crop. By selling that crop, he was going to have a very good amount of money. So he directly compares raindrops to money, and he claims them to be new coins. And he says that the big raindrops are 10 cents and the smaller ones are 5 cents in size. But suddenly the rain turns into the hailstorm and hail started falling like anything. And just in front of the eyes of the man, the whole land was under the white cover. The hails covered every inch of his land, and the crop was destroyed and devastated completely, without leaving even a single corn safe and intact. And he compares, even the children came out, they were happy to find the hailstones falling on the ground. It was a game for them. They were innocent, they couldn't understand the gravity of the situation, which their father could. So they were picking up the hailstones, they were playing with them, and they called that they were new silver coins because of their size, their color, and brightness. The hailstones are compared to new silver coins, and they are also called frozen coins. So a question can be there, to what the raindrops are compared. So your answer must be the raindrops are compared to new coins, the big ones to 10 cents and small ones to 5 cents. And to what the hailstones are compared? So the hailstones are compared to new silver coins and frozen coins. This should be the answer. Moving to next, we have Lencho writes letter to God. Now, after having seen that devastation all around, that hailstorm completely destroyed the corn farming of Lencho. And he said that locust could have left a little more than that. Actually, locust is an insect which comes in great number, and its attack leaves nothing behind. Once the swarm of the locust attacks any area, it completely destroys the cereals and the grains. And he says that equal thing was done by, the same thing was done by the hailstones. They destroyed the crop very badly. So he was having no help. He had no one to turn to for help, what to do. And in this situation, he turned to God to seek help. It shows that he was a very innocent man, he was a religious man, and he was having a deep faith in God also. So he goes to the post office, as we can see in this picture. He goes to the post office, Mr. Lencho standing over there, and writes a letter. After writing the letter, he posts it to the address of God. Over here we can see, what did he write in the letter? He wrote and demanded 10 pesos. Pesos, actually this is the currency of Mexico, where we can see the word is peso. Peso is the singular form, P-E-S-O, peso. Over here it is written in plural form because he needs 100, that's why pesos. So like in India we have rupees and paisa. The same way in Mexico the currency is known as peso and cent. And 1 peso is equal to 3 rupees and 20 Indian paisa. So he demands 100 pesos. So students, one thing to be noted is the honesty of the man. He could have written anything. It could have been 1000 pesos, 1 lakh pesos, but he writes only 100 because he calculated and he knew that he needs only 100 pesos to recultivate the fields and to run his household till he gets the next produce. Then he writes the letter and posted it. In the evening, when post office people, they came to take out all those letters to sort them out as per their destinations and addresses, the letter fell into the hand of a postman. Looking at the address of letter to God, he started laughing like anything. He told everybody else also working in the office, including the postmaster, and they all peeled off laughter. They rolled with laughter. And then suddenly Postmaster realized something. He grew serious. He stopped laughing and became very serious. The reason being why? He thought about the depth of the faith in the farmer. And he also thought, if this time this man is not helped out of this situation, he will lose his faith in God, and from theist he'll become atheist. Atheist is the person who doesn't believe in the existence of God. And it would be a big loss of humanity. When this idea struck to the mind of postmaster, he decided to help the farmer to protect his faith in God. He did not want to help him because of his need for farming. He did not want to help him because his family would go hungry. His main motto of helping him was to protect his faith in God. So he discussed with all his colleagues. He held a meeting, he discussed with them, and all of them together decided that yes, they were ready to donate some part of their salary. And through this donation, the postmaster could collect 70 pesos. He was still 30 pesos short on the demanded amount. And then he put that money into the letter, and through the proper channel, he did not hand it over directly to Lencho. Rather, he just tried through the proper channel. The way letter was sent to God, he wanted to show that the response also had come from God himself. So he sent that money to the address of Lencho himself. Lencho comes one day to receive his letter, and he was not surprised at all to receive that letter. He was not surprised. This fact shows how faithful he was. When he was writing letter, then also he knew that God would respond to his letter. Only then you cannot have surprise. Otherwise, such type of the things are very surprising. So this is the height of his faith. So Lencho got angry on receiving less than the demanded amount. He received the letter, he opened it there and counted the money and found that it was only 70 pesos. But his demand was for 100. So he got very much infuriated. In place of getting happy, he became angry and infuriated. And he criticized the post office employees and wrote another letter to God. That moment, he took another letter and started writing it to God. And in that letter, he clear-cut mentioned to God, God, you sent me 100 pesos. I believe that, but I have received only 70. Why only 70? Because the rest 30 pesos have been taken away by these post office employees. And he calls them a bunch of crooks. Crooks means dishonest. He says that the people working in post office are a group of dishonest people and they have cheated me. Then he makes another request to God. This time, God, please don't send money through post office people. Please send it directly to me. So this is how Lencho thinks in the end. So this was the briefing of the chapter. Now we'll talk a little about the elements, and we'll talk 3 elements in this chapter. The very first one I have picked up is the language, element of the language. We find language is very easy, very rushy, and very appealing. Once we start reading the lesson, we want to finish it in the single sitting. Such a lovely and beautiful language has been used by L.Fuentes. And there are 4 modes of writing: descriptive, narrative, demonstrative, and argumentative. These are the basic 4 ways how to write. And out of those 4, L.Fuentes has used 2 of them, narrative and descriptive. If we talk about the descriptive mode of the writing and style of L.Fuentes, we can see he creates picture of the house and the valley, and it becomes just alive in front of our eyes. The way the rain starts falling, and with the first rain on the ground, there comes out a very earthly smell which is very pleasant, and the raindrops are there, then hailstones are there, their size, their color, everything becomes live in front of us. Then the discussion of the employees, post office employees, and his writing and everything has been brought into life with the help of the writing style. This is the descriptive, you can say, mode of writing. And then narrative, he starts describing about the house, starts narrating. Actually narrative means the you can say the account of the events. In descriptive style we see the images, and in narrative we focus on the activities and their sequence as per their time and sequence. So language is very much impressive and appealing and easy to understand also. There is hardly a word we find into the lesson where we need to consult dictionary. Such an easy language. Coming to next is supernatural element in the story. By the way, in the beginning I told there is no direct interference by any supernatural power and force in the chapter, but yes, one reference is there, and through this reference L.Fuentes wants to convey one thing, that our life is governed by so many supernatural channels. Invisibly, God controls and can say that manages this universe through such subtle channels in different ways. And this thing we can find in a book also, which has been the best seller of its time, entitled The Secret, which is written by Rhonda Byrne. Rhonda Byrne also mentions that whatever you feel and whatever you think you can become, your feelings start turning into the reality. And this is how Lencho was feeling to seek help from God, and he received. By the way, God doesn't come in person over there, but he works through the employees of the post office, and he receives that help. So this proves one more thing. Whatever the help, whenever we are in the difficult situation, God is always with us, but not in physical form. He helps us through our friends, through our colleagues, and through our society members. And the last element of the story is irony. There are two incidents when we face irony and we find irony in the chapter. The very first is when Lencho is waiting for rain, and he thinks that if it rains then he would be getting a very good crop. That it was a promising, it is called promising crop. He was going to have a very good produce of the grain, but just opposite to his desire and expectation, there was a hailstorm which completely destroyed. The promising crop became just null and void. In place of getting abundant money and good money in hand, he had to seek help of God, and he had to run his household affairs on the donated money, the money donated by the post office employees. By the way, he doesn't get any idea whether the money was donated by the people or was sent by the God himself. So this is first ironical situation in the chapter. Second is the episode of the post office people and their donation. And on the other hand, in place of being thankful to the post office people, Lencho starts criticizing them. In his second letter, he writes that the post office people are the bunch of crooks. So they did a very humane job for him by donating and sacrificing some part of their salary. On the other hand, in place of receiving compliments, in place of getting thanks, they received criticism. So this is another aspect of irony in the chapter. We move to the next, we'll talk about the theme of the chapter. So the story A Letter to God by L.Fuentes highlights immense power in man's innocent faith in God. It teaches us that If we have unwavering faith, unshakable faith in the existence, means in the God and nature, then it starts helping us through its peculiar channels. God doesn't come in form, but He creates the situations in a way people start helping you. This is what L.Fuentes wants to bring out with the help of this story. And in short, we can say the lesson hinges on the theme, that is, faith can move the mountain. Means if we have a deep faith in something, we can do the tasks which seem to be impossible and incredible. So this is the theme. Now the last part of this chapter is message, and through this chapter L.Fuentes, the author, wants to pass a message on to us that we should not lose our hope in difficult situations and times and adverse situations. In the contemporary language, in the modern language, if I communicate the same thing, I can say faith is like Wi-Fi. Though it's invisible, we can't see Wi-Fi channels and the connections. It's invisible but has power to connect us to what we need. So this was the chapter, students. I hope you got everything crystal clear. Now learn it, make notes on the chapter of your own, and learn it through this one. So that's all for today. Thank you so much.